Welcome to the deep dive. We've put this together just for you, working directly from the sources you sent over. Looks like quite a mix of news from May 26th, 2025.
Yeah, quite a snapshot.
So today, our goal is pretty straightforward. Dig into this material, pull out the really key insights, the important details, maybe find some connections that aren't immediately obvious.
Exactly. And when you look at what you gave us, it covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? You've got these solemn observances, um, big international relations stuff, a legal fight.
Sports triumphs too, right?
Yeah, definitely. And a few other bits and pieces. So we're going to sort of unpack what stands out and, why it might matter based purely on what's in these sources.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with what seems like the anchor for this day in the news, Memorial Day. Your source really highlights its importance.
It does. It frames it as honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice for the country. Observed, of course, last Monday in May.
And it mentions the usual things, parades, services.
Yep. Parades, memorial services, ceremonies, especially at national cemeteries. And it makes the practical point, too. Lots of businesses, government offices closed for the day.
Right. So looking just at how the source presents it, the public events,
Yeah.
the closures, what does that tell us about maybe national priorities or just the rhythm of the year as captured here? It feels quite embedded.
I think it shows a clear value placed on remembrance, specifically military sacrifice. It's not just history. It's treated as, well, an active part of life today, publicly marked.
Okay. Now, shifting gears a bit, your sources move from that national moment to the global stage, international relations, trade, something about tariffs.
That's right. There's this specific news item about President Trump delaying a proposed tariff, a big one,
How big?
50%, on goods from the European Union, but the source says it's being delayed.
50% is.
Yeah, that's hefty.
And there's a date mentioned for the delay.
Until July 9th. And the reason given, simply to allow more time for negotiations.
Okay, standard enough reason. But then the source pivots.
Right. It does, interestingly. Right after the tariff news, it includes geopolitical commentary, specifically a quote from President Trump about Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, that's quite a quote.
It is. The source quotes Trump saying he believes Putin has gone absolutely crazy. Why?
No. And the source gives context for that.
Yeah, it comes after recent events in Eastern Europe and just the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and Russia. So it places the comment within that framework.
And then, still in that same sort of international section, there's another shift. Something about manufacturing?
Right. It moves to a focus on domestic manufacturing. The source quotes or paraphrases President Trump stressing the type of manufacturing he's after.
Which is?
We're not looking to make sneakers and T-shirts. We want to make military equipment. We want to make big things. That's the gist of it.
So let's connect those dots, at least as the source seems to present them. You've got the EU tariff threat delayed, the sharp words for Putin, and this push for heavy strategic manufacturing at home.
Yeah.
How might these be linked in the source's narrative?
Well, it kind of paints a picture of a multifaceted strategy, doesn't it? You could see it as projecting strength, using trade leverage with allies, taking a hard line with rivals, and then boosting domestic capacity in key areas like defense.
So, an America First theme, linking economic policy, foreign policy rhetoric, and industrial focus.
That seems to be the underlying connection presented in this collection of points, yeah. Linking economics to national security.
Okay, let's bring it back home then. Your material also covers a specific legal fight happening domestically, something about a lawsuit.
Yes, exactly. 3 Democratic members of the CPSC, that's the Consumer Product Safety Commission, filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration.
Is the core issue.
Unlawful termination, they claim. Fired without cause.
Right, and their argument, according to the source, centers on the idea that the president doesn't have unlimited power to just remove members from these kinds of independent agencies.
Precisely. They argue their removals go against established restrictions on presidential removal power for certain types of federal officials.
So the source frames this as more than just about these individuals. It's broader.
Definitely. It flags it as raising these bigger questions about how independent these federal agencies really are, or should be, from the White House, and, where the lines of executive authority actually lie.
So for you listening, why should you care about this seemingly internal government dispute? The source suggests it's actually testing fundamental ideas.
Yeah, it's about the structure of government, that balance of power. This case makes those abstract principles very concrete, very real world. It's about how government functions day to day.
A live test case, essentially.
You could say that. constitutional questions being argued right now.
All right, let's completely change the vibe now. Sports. Your sources actually include some pretty big news here, especially if you're a U.S. hockey fan.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a highlight piece in the material. Team USA won gold at the IIHF World Championship.
The big international tournament.
That's the one.
And the source points out this is kind of a big deal historically.
A very big deal. First time the U.S. has won that gold since 1933.
Wow, 1933. That's a long time.
A very long time. And the source gives the game specifics too. A tight one.
How tight?
1-0 win over Switzerland. Nail-biter.
And the winning goal.
Came in overtime, just over 2 minutes in. Scored by Tage Thompson. He plays for the Buffalo Sabres.
Nice. And there was a poignant moment mentioned too.
Yeah, a really touching detail. The team honored the late Johnny Gaudreau. They draped his number 13 jersey over the championship trophy during the celebration.
That's quite moving. So the source really frames this as a major achievement, right? Highlighting the team's skill and effort.
Absolutely. It's presented as this clear moment of national success and, sporting pride. Stands out against some of the heavier news.
A different kind of headline entirely.
Definitely.
Okay, just a couple more distinct items from your sources to cover. First, a travel advisory.
Yes, the source mentions the U.S. issued a travel advisory for the Philippines, basically warning Americans about potential risks if they travel there.
And how was that received, according to the source?
Not well, apparently. It says Philippine officials criticized it.
On what grounds?
Their argument, as reported, is that it could hurt tourism to the Philippines and maybe damage the relationship between the two countries.
Okay. And then, almost in direct contrast, there's news from an organization called Brand USA.
Right. Brand USA, their job is to promote travel to the United States. And the source says they just announced some new travel experiences for 2025.
And looking ahead even further.
Yeah, and previewed some big events and openings coming up in 2026. The goal, obviously, is to get more tourists to come to the U.S., show off what the country has to offer.
So looking at those last two items side by side, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It is a bit of a juxtaposition. You have one arm of the U.S. government saying, be careful going there, while another entity is actively saying, come here.
It highlights the different, sometimes conflicting priorities and actions within foreign policy and, I guess, national promotion.
It certainly shows different facets of how the U.S. interacts with the world.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into your source material from May 26, 2025. We've really covered a lot, from that solemn Memorial Day remembrance
to those big international moves, tariffs, tough talk on Russia, the manufacturing focus.
And that specific legal fight over the CP.
You can see, huge hockey win, first time since '33.
And finishing with those contrasting notes on international travel, the warning for the Philippines, the welcome mat from Brand USA.
Yeah, quite a range. And our aim really was just to pull out those key elements from the documents you provided, give you that focused look.
So just one final thought to leave you with, based only on this material we've discussed. What does it tell you about, well, the complexity of things when a single day's snapshot, like this one from your sources, contains such different threads? You've got deep historical reflection happening alongside very current power plays, internal legal battles, moments of pure athletic joy, and even mixed messaging on travel.
It really does show how many different things are demanding attention and shaping the national narrative all at once. A very rich picture of national life.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.